Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. Eastern Army Commander, Lieutenant General Rana Pratap Kalita, in Guwahati, in one of his interactions with the press, which took place on Tuesday evening, said that the violence will continue to take place in Manipur unless and until weapons are recovered from people. It is believed that the reason behind the sporadic violence is the possession of high-end weapons in the hands of the civil society, and more than 5,000 weapons were looted. Only barely 1,000 plus weapons have come back. So the general is right, and the general is saying that these weapons needs to come back. And let me take you through data. And data clearly tells us that the sort of weaponry which was looted hasn't come back. If I play that data on the screen, let us play those graphics. 4,000 weapons are in circulation in Manipur. More than 5,500 weapons were stolen. 5,500 have come back. And the general is also saying that the political resolution to the problem is required. So a man in the olive has said the right thing, that you really need a political resolution to the issue in Manipur. It cannot be resolved through civil society action, nor through army or security forces. And must-check smuggling of drugs and weapons is perfectly spot on. The drug smuggling, illegal immigration which has taken place in Manipur.
Looks like, we have been listening to our own program because
yes,
we have been discussing these
and he's
points.
Right. Weapons, drug, illegal immigration, the problem in Myanmar, the China hand, he's spot on. But the violence is down. Yes, the violence is down. But the sporadic violence or the killings which takes place is because those weapons are out. So today in our discussion, we are going to talk about why these weapons aren't back. But before that, I will play out the two important bites of General Kalita and also the bite of Chief Minister Biren Singh, who is talking about the programs of the government of Manipur. Let's play them.
Earlier also there have been some cases which we heard about weapons smuggling which used to take place along with the drugs from across the Indo-Myanmar border. Some isolated incidents may be there, but generally there is a check on those issues. But since 4,000 weapons are already out, there were some misunderstanding because of the way we operate and certain drills and procedures we follow. But those have been largely addressed, and now there is absolute synergy as far as the operations are concerned.
Everywhere, some miscreant elements exist. So it is very unfortunate for destroying of the prefabricated houses, but now we have provided security and reconstruction will be started again. And this almost the last 1-2 months, the normalcy is restoring slowly, except some 1-2 incidents. The incident which took place in Harautel area, which was killed one IRB personnel, including one IRB personnel, it is very shocking. I condemn this kind of act. We should not indulge in the crimes, and we should try to together. We together should try to restore normalcy and the peace in the state of Manipur. And almost in many parts of the state, normalcy has restored, and the police has started mass combing operation in the said particular Harautel area since 2 days to nab the culprits, and I hope the police will do their job and will book the culprits. That is very true, but due to the prevailing situation in Myanmar, we have reinforced our security process to the border. And our not only the some rifle, state security forces, BSF, CRPF has been deployed, and we are monitoring very strictly.
In this edition of On Point, I am joined by Dr. M. Ramananda Singh, Associate Professor from Kirorimal College, University of Delhi, Dr. Thangulal Haukep, Assistant Professor, Center for the Study of Law and Governance, JNU, and my input editor, Brijesh Pandey. Brijesh, first to you. When the General says that, the weapons needs to come back, I think there's no doubt about it. He's spot on.
Well, I think General is just stating something which we have been discussing for more than 3-4 months now. Weapon is not coming is also a clear signal of the fact that, people don't have trust in the state police. They don't have the trust in the state administration, and that is why, you know, society is arming themselves to teeth in order to deal with any kind of eventuality. And, you know, he also spoke about how there should be a political resolution to the entire problem. Yes, he's absolutely right. There has to be a political resolution, and until unless the politicians start this process of reconciliation, some sort of a reach out which can be built on later on, I don't think the situation can improve at all. Yes, killings are down. Yes, the way it was happening 4 months, 2 months back, that situation is improved. But I think fatigue has set in. The fact is that as long as 4,000, 3,000 arms are out there in the society, peace is just a mirage. You know, it's just a lulling tactics where, you know, you can regroup and again go for the kill.
But, you know, Brijesh, you know, last time Mr. Haukup was here, we had a very heated debate on the fact when this ITLF self-rule issue came up. One of the General Secretary has been booked. He crossed the line, and under stringent act he has been booked. I mean to say, there is one thing called narrative, which the politicians will have to deal with. But another thing is, to get the weapons back, you need the army to do some sort of intrusive surveillance, intrusive combing operation.
You have to, and, you know, I think, you know, that there was this talk about how ITLF has announced that, you know, we have a separate state, we'll have our own chief minister and all. You know, this is exactly what political process is all about. You know, you make an outreach, you know, you ensure that there's some sort of outreach between the two ethnicity. You also try to reach out to people and, you know, try to convince them about the intent of the government. Now, you see a situation where, you know, both the Kukis as well as the Meiteis, they are also not very happy with the way, entire situation is panning out in the state of Manipur. And in middle of this, you know, you come up with these kind of claims and counterclaims. It only fans fuel to the fire. And then there is no getting back from that situation, and that is what will make sure that the situation will not return to normalcy.
You see, Mr. Hauke, for me, it's the irony, the man in the olive. He is not giving a security reference to any social issue. He is the one who is talking about a political resolution to the problem which is there in Manipur. Isn't it, Mr. Hauke?
You know, let me start by saying, you know, how do we counter this type of sporadic incidents of violence?
Okay.
To bring peace in Manipur, there needs to be a law and order. When I talk about law and order, you know, it's not law and order in the sense of heinous crime. There are few instances of crimes which are not overlooked. For instance, yesterday there is a interview to Meitei Lukun Chief Pramod Singh by Imphal Times, and he said that cookies need to be driven out as they are a threat to our existence. You know, this kind of hate comments, this kind of people who keep on spreading hate would never bring peace into this state. So how do we take law and order? The police has to look into all this kind of impunity. As long as there is an impunity to the law and order, the kind of law we have, the rules we have, then I think Manipur will not come back to normalcy. And we all know that how do we bring back this 4,000, more than 4,000 arms looted? The establishment knows who is responsible, where are the arms located. So there has to be questioned. The central government, the home ministry has to question the state government why they are not acting. If they are not acting on this, this specific problem, then they have to question the government itself, and then they have to take back. We have been for the last 6 months, we have been talking about how we should, bring about president's rule in the state. So that is the only way to bring law and order in the state. And as the communities are being divided strangely, being polarized based on communities, the law and order situation in Manipur is a far cry. And president rule was the only way to bring back. But that didn't happen. How it happened, we all know. And talking about that will not bring those kind of law and order situation in the state. And now what do we need to do? And as Lieutenant General Kalita has said, we should look forward for political solutions. With only political solutions, then we can think about some calming down. So that's my take this evening.
Okay, Mr. Singh, very
Yeah.
pertinent observation by General Kalita that you can't control these sporadic killings unless and until the weapons come back. How do you get them? You can only get them through intrusive surveillance and
yeah,
very
yeah.
powerful combing operations.
Yeah, Kartike and Brijesh, I do agree with the points of General Kalita, where he's mentioning two major points. One is the sporadic violence can be controlled by taking out all the weapons looted from the on the police or the camp. Absolutely true. The violence are taken place by weapons. So it has to be controlled by the law agencies in Manipur. But there are two aspects one has to see in the issues of this, where the even General Kalita talks about the political solutions also. But one has to, keep in mind, we have discussed these things many times in your show also. There are two aspects one has to look into. One is controlling a law and order situation in Manipur, whether by doing intensive or extensive combing operations to recover the looted weapons from the civil society or in the public places. This is one way to do the control the crime in the Manipur state. Another aspect is the political strategy, political talk, political dialogue, political discourse, which is totally missing. Neither the government of the Manipurs and the central governments is seen to have a strategic plan to have a dialogue between these two communities. Now, it is absolutely true that people are polarized on the both communities. Whether you talk about Kuki communities or Meitei community, both communities are totally polarized. The some civil society on the behalf of the whole community demands something, and the other community also trying to demand something else. So it's created psychological differences between the two communities, and people are totally secure or are not hoping for the peace to come back. I'm talking about a peace is a total peace as before we leave 7 months ago. That situation is very far to reach at the moment. So therefore, the talking about two aspects of one is controlling the sporadic violence by doing intensive, extensive exercise of combing operation. Another is political dialogues between the leaders and the communities is very, very essential to have to bring back the normalcy. Now, any act of the government, any action of the government is totally not going into that direction, which is very, very troubling to every communities in Manipur. We have realized now that normalcy is very far to reach. If the speed we have at the moment in terms of the dialogue, in terms of negotiation between these two communities, because any one of the communities or neither of these communities will agree on a particular kind of demands. Like one is talking about the having separate administrations, separate chief ministers, separate chief secretaries, and others are talking about the integrity of Manipur's having one government systems in the state. So which is totally opposite to each other. So one has to think about the other way or the solutions without the political will is another meaningless idea. Even if the general talks about political solution, but where is the political solution without political will?
Absolutely.
But
which
you
is
know,
totally missing here.
but you know,
There is no
but I
political
think
will at the
I
moment.
think they really crossed the line by using the word self-rule. Not only they're in a legal problem, but the sort of action that has been taken against them is very, very strong. You see, you can have empowered administration, you can have your sixth administration under sixth rule and all that, but when you use the word rule, you can't. The integrity issue is something which I would say that they have really crossed the line, Mr. Singh.
Yeah. See, the concept of having single administrations, we are talking about even if the administration, even the six schedules, where there is a relation between the governments and the six schedules things, where the financial approvals should be done by the state governments, even if it was controlled by the centers in the later implementation of that particular six schedules, even in
Boss,
it is implemented
let
in
me
the
let me be
Mizoram
very
and
clear.
others.
They have been booked. They have been booked. There's an FIR for waging war against the
UAPA.
government. It's not a small thing. When you get booked under waging war against the government, nation, it's not a small thing. It's not a small
Absolutely
thing.
true. See, any kind of actions on the separatist movement is banned. Even you can have heard of few weeks ago, the government of India, Home Ministry has banned some of the insurgent groups in the village, where many years back they are demanding for separate and independent sovereignty of Manipur.
The
So similarly like
Metis
that,
extremist
if-
organizations. Yes, I read that. Metis extremist
so
organizations.
similarly like that, if any other community or any other leaders are demanding for separate administration or separate kind of demand, which is out of the box of the current administration or administration positions of the Manipur, that action should be taken. Absolutely true. If the law is the same, it should be same for everyone, whether it is belongs to Kuki community or whether it belongs to Metis community.
Okay, Brijesh, let me get you here. If there is a consensus that the weapons needs to come back, and weapons needs to come back through a proper combined operation. What happened? I think A.K. Mishra was there before this whole ITLF controversy took place, and now they have been booked under stringent laws because they crossed the line. Where do you see the center here? What's happening? I mean to say, what we come to know that some people have gone spoken, but what sort of a rounded conversation that is happening?
I think Karthikeya, the center is talking to the stakeholders who are involved in this warfare which is going on for the last 7 months now. But the fact of the matter is that on the ground you aren't seeing much, and that's a sign of worry. I completely agree with Mr. Singh, and that was my first point when you asked me the question is that that you are not, somehow we are not able to see a concrete action. The government must be is seized of the matter, and it's foolish to say that they aren't seized of the matter, the state and the center, but somehow that plan, in which you plan on how to restore normalcy in Manipur by making political outreach, by showing political will, by transcending your parochial ethnic identity and trying to transcend into a identity of Manipuri. All that is missing. And that is the reason why you may impose UAPA, you may ban 50 things, but the fact of the matter is that is what is making people jittery, and that is the reason why once you're not sure of whether there is a light at the end of the tunnel, then they react in various ways. That is what it is happening. The return of arms, Karthikeya, I very firmly believe in the fact that the reason why people are not returning arms is because they are not sure of the ability of the state to protect them in a particular situation.
Okay. Can I be the devil's advocate? Can I be the devil's advocate? Arms. There is one logic which says that the Sioux militants, the people in tribal area already have the arms, but the arms were looted in urban areas, and the charge is that they are primarily in the Metis areas. So how come Metis be unsure of the fact that they will not be protected?
Well, I mean, going by what happened. See, the reason is you don't feel the urge to keep an arm if you're feeling safe and secure. If you're feeling safe and secure, If you're feeling safe and secure that that you will be protected in a case of assault, you don't keep arms.
So by your
if you're
by
not
your
feeling
logic, Brijesh, both communities are
yes,
not
they
feeling
are.
safe.
Yes,
are you saying
yes,
that?
they are. Not they are absolutely. And it is not that the arms are looted only in Maitha area. They have been looted in Kuki areas as well. And that is the reason why arms are not returning back. That is the reason why arms is not returning back. You require combing, you require great intel, you require participation, but you also have to put the law. See, the might of the state or the majesty of the state has to be present
you
before
require
the
political
people.
will.
Absolutely.
Mr. Singh, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, that I truly agree with the Bridges' point that both side is worried about their safety. Still, these time is a harvesting time in the valley, even in the hill also. But those who are living in the periphery areas, they are afraid of going for the fields for harvesting of their the paddy fields. So those things are still there, and sporting incidents occasionally happenings, there in the Manipur itself, in the periphery area. So people are not confident enough to have a secure psychology, and they don't have any trust on the government agency to defend them from any kind of aggression. So that's why you will find a lot of the village volunteers are coming up and coming out. Even they are trained by their own communities, and they are still guarding their own periphery areas from any kind of attacks or any sudden attacks from the other communities. It is same with the hill area also. They are still there, and that is a big issues for for the government to see and look at. There are many areas, even recently reported in the Manipur news and the radios, where there are so many people
Mr. Singh, what is
struggling
my
to
biggest
return
fear
to
as a
their
journalist is,
own village in the periphery areas of
what is my biggest fear as a journalist is, and Mr. Hauke, please respond to this. Even if half of them are sold in black market again, you will not find them. You will not be able to trace those weapons, keeping in mind the sort of unstable border we have. Mr. Hauke.
I think before I reply to that, I wanted to discuss about the free flow of unreasonable FIRs in Manipur for the last 6 months. When we talk about the FIR to ITLF, which I think it's also unreasonable because the kind of self-rule or self-governance that the ITLF may be talking about, unless it is about within the Indian state or within the the sphere of Indian Union, then that should not be taken as breaking some IPC or some other relevant sections of the law. So this self-rule might be something like a local self-governance, so as to support in terms of medicine, some in terms of food supply and others. So how do we know that these people have the intention of breaking away from the Indian Union? Without knowing that, I think it's irrelevant to FIR them. I think regarding this, I should take note of the FIR filed against me and my co-editor Zhang Kumang, that writing a book or editing a book and naming them as Anglo-Kuki War, which is which is a kind of resistance war against the British 100 years ago. Now they are just for publishing a book and naming them as that rebellion during the British rule as Anglo-Kuki War. They are not tolerating it, and then they are filing FIR against the two editors, saying that they have conspiracy to wage war against the Indian Union. So how ridiculous this type of FIRs could be tolerated? So we have to understand these situations. And regarding this looted weapons, I believe that during these 7 months of conflict, I think many people would have been in hard pressed economically, and those who are in possession of those arms could have definitely attempt to sold it to other people who could buy it. So there is a high possibility that even half of these arms could have also been sold to the highest bidder or any person who could buy the arms. So finding it in 100% would be very difficult by now. So we could hope hardly that, as I have said, this man is very much clear about who is the leader in that police stations or any armory looting. So those people should be held accountable for looting and then in returning of those arms.
Yeah, Mr. Hawkip, I know you spoke about two things, and I agree that, in no civil society, any state government should be, you can be liberal in your views, but you can't be liberal in your FIRs. I completely agree. There's no doubt. As a journalist, I agree. There's a High Court judgment which has come out in a case in Jammu and Kashmir.
And in this kind of situation, it seems more as an intimidatory tactics rather than reasoning it out. Or
yeah, you were saying something?
Yeah, the Supreme Court has ruled that there shouldn't be no sedition cases against any Indian citizens, which has been for quite a few years now. But yet, police are still filing sedition cases against citizens. So we are not aware about the law, or are we, despite knowing that, are we still with some, preconceived notion, are we still filing the, sedition charges against journalists or academics or any activists? I think we have to really educate our own police forces regarding this. The Supreme Court has already said that sedition charges, which is a colonial and which is a kind of retributive law, should be not be applied to any Indian citizens by now.
But Brijesh, the topic I wanted to come to you. Yes, I do agree that in a in a state, my idea of state, you have to have liberal views. You can't be liberal with FIRs. That should be the last resort. But coming back to the issue of Manipur, the sort of debates, conversations, the programs we have had in last 7 months, one thing has become very, very clear, that there are certain things that are happening are also happening in continuity, in the sense we thought that there will be an early resolution. Then I read articles in newspaper where important people say, well, have you forgotten about the previous conflict in which so many people died, and the whole area remained disturbed for 1 year of 20 months. So I also feel that somehow the issues in Northeast are seen differently. They seem to have a different timeline. Same thing happening in any other part would have been dealt differently.
Well, I agree with you, but I think, as you progress, as you improve, as you go forward, as make advances as a society, I don't think, those examples can be held true. I think, if there's a political will, don't you think that, this situation could have been, at least an attempt to have an early resolution could be made? The worrying point is that there's no attempt. And, there's an airy silence on the part of the state as well as the center about the roadmap ahead. Nobody is coming out and trying to explain that this is how we intend to achieve peace and tranquility in the state of Manipur. There is absolute silence. And what you're doing is side by side is that if there's any independent analysis of the situation, well, there's an FIR under sedition for you. So that we will not present you any roadmap. But if you try to dissect and provide a roadmap, then we will book you under sedition.
But then certain people also have, I think, crossed lines.
Karthikeya, if anybody has crossed a line, the government is free to file a case against him. Nobody stands as a lawyer or as a spokesman for those people. But in the case of Mr. Hawkip, and in the case of several other people, people who are in academics, people who are the torchbearer of the, if I may say, the conscience of the state of Manipur. If you try to use FIRs, see, Karthikeya, we have been covering this thing for such a long time. In my 20 years of career, we have seen several instances where, if a state is disturbed, how FIRs and intimidatory tactics are brought back to pressurize situation. It has never worked for the society.
What I find, I should use the word funny, but definitely disturbing, is that the narrative should have remained around ethnic issues or getting two communities to come together. But over a period of time, the narrative has changed into us versus them. National security versus where outsiders have come in, where the state becomes the victim and not the communities. The communities are the victims in Manipur.
Absolutely.
Multiple communities, whether they're Kukis, Metis, people who don't believe, atheists, Nagas. Victims are the communities. But in this case, what has happened academically is that the state has become a victim because the
state has portrayed itself as a victim to make sure that
and the outside forces have become the aggressors, whereas the answer to Manipur lies within.
Absolutely.
On this note, I would like to end this special edition, but don't go away, because there is one more story waiting for you, and that is how in next 48 hours, maybe, but there is a hope, and I'm using the word maybe, these 41 workers will see the light of the day. Stay tuned.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it.
It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody.